Alright guys, thanks for coming to watch my video. So this video, along with the next half dozen to a dozen videos, is actually for one of my buddies that's stationed overseas. We're kind of on different time schedules, so he just came back to the game and asked me, hey, you've been making some gold. How do I do what you're doing on my server? So this video is kind of break down some simple tips on how I make gold on my servers just by flipping a few things in the auction house. That way we can continue to make gold while still enjoying the game, such as raiding, running Mythic Plus, or whatever we're doing besides sitting and farming mobs or flying around and farming for mats to flip on or just put up for sale in the auction house. So what we're going to go through is talk about some different things about what you need to do to start flipping, and then every week moving forward I'm going to give him a different flip to kind of add to his process and to manage throughout the week till he can get to the point where he's easily making 1 million, 2 million gold a month just by doing 30 minutes of work to hour of work at night to keep his WoW bankroll going. Now, first off, before we get into actual flips for this week, I want to cover down two add-ons that are pretty important to do this. First one being TSM and Auctionator. Now, TSM scares a lot of people because it is a pretty substantial add-on and it has a lot of information, but we're not using it all for the add-on, the full scope of the add-on. What we're looking for is realistically when we want to look at something that we're trying to post, and one of the things that we're looking at flipping, which is Sallow Pigment, is so we can check how much is being sold on a daily basis on average for a region. Now, just because it says in this window that it sells for 19, just slightly more than 19 a day for the region average daily, your server still may vary, such as even with your price. Alright, the second thing we're using is Auctionator, just because it's a lot easier to use, in my opinion, than TSM, especially when you're trying to learn, which is in my buddy's case. You can simply just go to buy versus browse. You can sort what you want and it'll show you all the different stacks and all the different prices so you can compare what you're posting to what others are. Alright, as well as looking at the history and what's been sold that day later on, what you've been selling. It works out pretty well, as well as creating a shopping list. Alright, so in this case, our flip today that we're going to be talking about is two flips to kind of get him started. Um, which is a Felwart flip. Now, to preface, when you're flipping anything on auction house, you need to make sure that what you're flipping is profitable. Another server I play on and flip, I can't flip Felwart because it's too expensive. So a good example here is for a Felwart flip, I go to my shopping list, I click Felwart, and I can see there's Felwart seeds and Felwart. I click the Felwart, it shows me all the different stacks that are currently in the auction house. Alright, now what I'm going to do is look through based on my data that I've been going through and figure it out. Is this profitable or not? Long story short, typically if it's under 250 gold per Felwart, it is profitable to me and worth my time investment. In this case, I don't have a lot of gold sitting on this particular character. I'm going to go ahead and just buy a stack of 100. Now, I buy my stack of 100, it sends it in my mailbox. Now we're going to fast forward a little bit. Alright, now that we're back, off camera I went ahead, grabbed that 100 stack of herbs of Felwart, went ahead and milled it down to make Sallow Pigment. Now, general rule of thumb is I know when I mill Felwart, I'm going to get between 9 to 13 on average Sallow Pigment. Alright, Sallow Pigment sells pretty decent on my server. Some servers it sells a little bit better than the rest of them, but I know when it comes down to it, I just plan to get 11 Sallow Pigment per 5 Felwart that I mill down. Now this is pretty simple. It took all of just a minute or two to mill down the herbs. It took me a few seconds to actually look it up on my shopping list. It makes it that much simpler to just click, search and load, find the herbs I want to buy it, run to the mailbox, which is located directly behind me, mill it down, come back to post it. Alright. Now, as far as posting it, it makes it very simple. I'm selling the sallow pigment straight. Later on, flip, when I work him through the inscription and stuff, we'll begin flipping some of the sallow pigment into glyphs to turn into it, because a lot of Legion glyphs require sallow pigment, which is going to limit either by your farming capability to get Fel Wart or using Legion herbs to get sallow pigment, or by your supply on the auction house. However, this process is basically how can we spend a few minutes a night to turn around and get gold. Alright, so for this to be profitable, I need to make 78 gold per sallow pigment to turn a profit. Now, typically, I do not flip something unless there's a 25% profit or higher. Some people want to flip it if it's not, wait till 80%. Some people are willing to flip it if they just make a couple gold on it. But in order to make sure that it maintains being profitable for me, I'd rather stick with 25%. So with the sallow pigment, it ends up going for 202 gold. So that means essentially every pigment I sell at that price of 202, based on where I bought it, nets me a 124 gold profit just from that one purchase. So by the time we factor in 232 pigments that we milled from it, that's a just over 28, almost 29k profit just from spending just shy of 18k to get started with this flip. Now, how we're going to continue this flip throughout the week is we're going to continue to sell this in stacks, whatever is going to sell best. So we see stacks of 10, stacks of 1, a stack of 10, 5 stacks of 20, 1 stack of 50. Alright, so obviously when we're undercutting here, we don't want to undercut by a massive amount. We don't want to kill the market. So we're going to use Auctionator, who's going to help us post it. I prefer to sell mine in stacks of 20. I'm able to do 11 stacks of 20. I'm going to turn around and post. Alright, when you're posting, when you're doing any type of flipping, you need to pay attention to the deposit. Some things you're going to flip, i.e. if you're flipping Tomes of Tranquil Mind or Tomes of the Quiet Mind, their deposit sometimes can be quite expensive. So if you're posting over and over and over and you're not selling, you're losing money just by posting until it finally sells. And that's something we'll get into in a later video, to make sure that you're not digging yourself in a hole, but you need to make sure, pay attention to your profits. So 33 silver to post on us. Now I know I'm not going to sell all this in the 48 hours it's going to post. If you want to be really good about it, you should post it for 12 hours, come back within 12 hours, check it that night, redo it. Alright, but then again, I'm trying to focus on as much minimal gameplay focused on earning gold while getting the biggest profit. So the more stuff I can put on the auction house in my 30 minutes to an hour a night, the more stuff I'm going to sell. Alright, so in this case, I'm going to go ahead and post it and hope it all sells within 48 hours. But realistic on my server, I'm going to sell probably 6 to 7 of those stacks and have 4 extra, which is okay. I would rather have a little extra than not enough and then miss out sales. But however, if I've got too much, why am I just flooding the market with stuff for no reason? Now, the rose pigment is pretty much just a gimme. Alright, in this case, I'm just going to flip it directly back in there because this is for my buddy to start. And he's trying to get some gold coming in so he can start moving forward. Alright. So in this case, we're going to flip it, try to get an extra 233 gold out of it. Obviously, the auction house is going to take a cut, knock it down. But this should be enough gold to come back into his bank account within a couple days to flip the next piece that I'm going to give him, which will be in the next video. But he does that a couple times during the week, comes back, has maybe 50, 60k in profit, turn around, reinvest that, and then flip more. Then he flips it again. Instead of flipping 100, he's flipping 200, he's flipping 300, he's flipping 400. Now, if your rose pigment's not selling, then you can turn around and flip it into different inks. So if we go back to our shopping list, you're able to trade rose pigment in Legion Dalaran for other inks, i.e. an Inferno ink. Alright, some of these inks take 10 rosé pigments for one ink at Dalaran. Some of it takes 1 for 1. Alright, Inferno ink, it takes 10, which for us we're selling for a total of just shy of 60 gold for those for 10 rosé pigment. While if we turn them into Inferno ink, we could potentially get 250 gold. Alright, but it doesn't sell as well as rosé pigment, and we're trying to get him gold started as quick as possible so he can start flipping. So once he starts milling more Felwort, having more rosé pigment, this would be a good idea for you to turn that into, start turning in some Inferno ink to get a little bit of extra gold coming in there. Alright, same thing with Ink of the Sky. It's another one that sells mediocre. It says 0.17, but I usually sell 10 every 3 days. So while there is a little bit of margin for error there, and it just depends on the need of the economy, at the end of the day, that's still gold that's out there. If I just have rosé pigment that's not really selling to the max every time I post it, why not just disperse that and see if I can get a little bit of gold somewhere else? However, you notice TSM is talking of where the minimal buyout for the region, we're talking about 255, 139, or market value is 139, but on my server currently, someone's got the price down lower at 69.70 gold. For me, that's not worth the time to go trade 10 of them to bring it back to try to get 9 gold out of something that sells slower than rosé pigment. Now, the other piece moving in, we'll jump to another video clip real quick, is how do we actually go about getting started into this. If you're my buddy's situation, we just came back to the game and he has no gold. He's basically doing dailies, he's vendoring items. The best thing for you to go do in the meantime is to go back to Dalaran, go back to the MOP days, go find your LFRQ vendor and go run through all LFRs. You can run through them pretty quick, get 4, 5, 6,000 gold. If you're willing to put in a couple hours to do it and run multiple expansions or raids, or that you can get raw gold to turn around and invest into your flipping. In this case, we started with Kata, Wad, and Mop. Did their dungeons, which netted us about 21k when we did all the different difficulties for the raids. Came back, flipped it on this character. Alright. Man, I hope this helps you. If anybody else has watched this video, I hope this helps. Alright, I'll get this next video up and rolling, and we'll post it next Wednesday for you to look at. Essentially, just make sure you stay on top of your flipping. Make sure you always have something up for sale. If you don't have something up for sale, you can't make money. Auction house flipping does not work if you don't have something up there. At the same time, make sure you're not over posting for no reason. If it's going to cost you gold to post stuff, and if you know you're not going to sell it, you might as well just keep it in your bags and just put up what you know you're going to sell. The last piece of advice is make sure you check to make sure this is on your server. Now, I've already gone and looked at his server. Alright, we play on completely different servers. Alright, he's on the Horde side, I'm on the Alliance side. But I've gone and checked to make sure Felwort is still profitable with Sallow Pigment, but on your server it may not. I know Area 52 is not very profitable to do it because Felwort is selling between 400 and 600 a piece, while Sallow is still selling for about 150 a piece. Therefore, you're not going to be able to mill enough Sallow Pigment out of how much it costs for the Felwort to do this flip. So you need to look at your market, make sure it's okay. Alright, if you have any questions, please let me know. Leave it in the comments below. Buddy, if you got any comments, just shoot me a text message. Alright, appreciate it. I hope this helps. Thanks, guys.